Good morning, everyone of Astronomy 120, Section 71. Today is September 16th. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. This session was planned actually last week. Usually, because this is an online class, the second week is usually when I do a live session for that semester, so that we have basically an understanding of what's going on. However, because of the ongoing basically emergencies that hit our area in terms of fires, the college was closed, so people were focused on other things at that time, so we had to postpone it to this week. As a matter of fact, all assignments that were due last week have been basically moved at least a week in the future, so that to allow for emergencies that were happening. I hope that you guys are safe. I hope that you guys are basically, even now, it's still an ongoing issue, but it's a lot less than what it was last week. So please do take care and make sure that when you go out, you're actually well protected because the atmosphere is still kind of thick and it's not really 100% healthy. So, in terms of our class is an online class, and this is a late start, so it's kind of a little bit condensed versus the normal session. So hopefully you guys will take that into account when you're taking this class. I know you had the option to take the regular start and the late start. Since you opted for the late start, you have to understand one thing, and it's very, very important. The content is the same, whether you start early or you start late. Because the content is the same and the time frame is a little less, so the weekly load is slightly higher than what the normal start is. So think about it about 10% to 25% of times more, because by the end of the semester, we need to catch up. By the end of the semester, we would have the exact amount of content that was covered in terms of materials basically covered, in terms of assignments, in terms of exams, in terms of activities, everything will be the same. So at the end of the day, you can fairly say that I took Astronomy 120, whether you take it early start or late start, it's the same amount of content. So that needs to be clarified from the get-go. So you will see during some weeks, it starts kind of a little bit light, and then it starts to pick up steam a little bit. So you will have a little bit more work per week than an early start. So hopefully that is clear from the get-go and that you're ready for it, okay? The book that we will be using is this one. It's probably backward. It says Pathways to Astronomy, and this is the sixth edition by Schneider. The book is actually it used to be free, so if you see some old recordings where it says to go to Brightwave and get it for free, I think it's no longer true. The college has stopped that program because the basically the funds that were available to sponsor those things ran out. So now there is actually you have to get it either through a basically a loaner system through the college, or you get it, you buy it outright, whether the hard copy or the electronic version. So it doesn't matter as long as you have a copy of this book, because at times you will have assignments directly from the book, number one. Number two, also you are required to read every unit. So the content that you will see on Canvas is not enough. You will need the book. So you must have access to the book, either in electronic form or in a hard copy version. I think there is actually a program from the bookstore. I really don't have the exact details of it, but my understanding it's going to be $20 per credit, meaning that this textbook will cost you on a loaner $60. So you get it for $60 the entire semester, and you can use it. I think the full version is several $100s. So I wouldn't want to buy this book. I mean, just because I'm taking this class, honestly, if I can do the $60 version. So inquire about it in the bookstore as soon as possible, because you really have to have the book from day one. So if you don't have it from day one, you must have it as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're going to start falling behind. Going to share with you how Canvas is structured. You will see that there are some resources in the on Canvas that can help you. There are some recordings that I have done from my previous basically classes, so they should be also helping you, but they serve only as a guide. Okay, the textbook is a must. The textbook, you have to have access to it one way or the other. So let me share with you the screen so that we know what we're talking about. So we are looking here at, let me go back to the home page, okay, of this class. So we're looking at Astronomy 120, Section 71, which is this class, okay? Um, so this is the landing page when I come to Canvas. Obviously, if you have difficulty accessing Canvas, you should have reached out to me already. And till now, I did not hear from nobody. So by now, almost everybody is actually expert at that. So you must have access to this page. Without it, of course, this whole course is online, so you must have that. Okay. This is an async course, meaning that you don't have to have, we don't have live sessions every week, okay, so that you know, meaning that it's mainly at your own pace. It's a kind of a hybrid, to be honest with you, okay, because there are some assignments that have due dates. I tried that in the past where you basically leave everything open to the end of the semester, but there is a problem, two problems actually. The first one is that people tend to basically not focus on their class. They have other things. They probably have in-person classes. They may have work. They may have other things, family or stuff that they need to take care of. And then toward the end, they remember, you know what? I am already enrolled in that class and it's soon ending, so I better start doing things. By then, it's way too late. Even a month at the end, it's way too late. I mean, it becomes overwhelming. And most of the students in that case, they end up with a lot of grades that they really didn't want to. So there is this problem, number one. Problem number two is there is a sequence in every course, basically. There is a build-up. There is a step one, then you step two, and step three. Honestly, you can't jump to step three or step two without first going to step one. So there is a process through which that needs to evolve. So you can't jump all the way toward the end and start working from there. So I have due dates. Usually there is a leeway. They have about 10 days to 2 weeks window when you can complete those things and you move on. That's where the due dates are. So yes, it's kind of asynchronous. Yes, you can work at your own pace, but you have to remember that in order to get here, you must have done this. So there is a deadline in here. There is another step in here. There is another step in there. So that's why I put them and spread them throughout the semester. So you must adhere to them. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It's not going to work from two reasons. The first one is it becomes too much for you to do. And the second also is that there is a sequence that you need to adhere to. Otherwise, it's going to be out of sequence and you will have no idea. This part in here is talking about the use of spectroscopy, for example, trying to learn how the properties of stars are and its distance and its size and all of that. And it's using ideas from way back. And I didn't know what these things are. So obviously, I wouldn't understand what they're talking about. And then I have to go back. And then when I'm back, I have to go further back. And then it becomes a too much, or I have no idea what the topic is. So there is a sequence. Okay. And this is true in every subject. This is not just for astronomy, for every subject. Yes, it is async. Yes, you're not required to do daily, we don't have daily sessions and things like that, or weekly sessions, I should call them. But you must check in every week. There is a load in here, minimum 6 to 8 hours, basically, which you would do anyway, okay? If you're taking an in-person class. When you take an in-person class, you come in for 2 sessions for an hour and a half each. That's 3 hours, period, okay? Plus another hour and a half preparing for those hours and a half in terms of content. Okay, so that is 6 hours altogether. Plus, you have other assignments. Okay, you have quizzes, you have discussions items, or basically you have to have contributions, you have to have quizzes, as I said before, homework assignments and review for exams and things like that. That add up at least another hour to 2 hours probably a week. If you're looking at a normal load of 6 to 8 hours, this is just to take a normal class combined with the fact that this is an accelerated course, so you have to add to it another probably 30 minutes to 1 hour. So you're looking at a 9 hour normal on your schedule to be checked. So you must account for that every week. Okay. Even though this is an online class and you don't have a specific schedule, you make up your own schedule and you decide, you know what, today from this hour to this hour, please don't make them all 6 hours in on Saturday. That is going to be way too much for you. Okay. So let's say, for example, on Monday, from, I don't know, depending on your schedule, let's say, for example, you have other classes in the morning, you're working, you have other things to take care of. You know what? I have an opening between 4 and 6 p.m., for example. Okay. I'm going to spend an hour and a half then. Okay. On Astronomy 120. Then on Wednesday, I have another hour and a half or 2 hours then. Okay. Friday and Saturday, and I have covered the whole thing, all required allotted time. Even though this is an online class and there is a flexibility in it, it comes to your own discipline in terms of making it happen. So it's not the fact that it is an online class that we're kind of, okay, I'm going to spend half an hour on it this week and maybe 10 minutes next week, and the next week is going to be probably an hour or something. That is going to be way too low, and it's not going to be helpful, and you're not going to learn from it, and it's not going to work for you. Okay, so you must account for that, please. There is weekly assignments, there is weekly readings, so you have to take that into account, even though there is not a structure where you're supposed to be coming in here, and I will show you where the structure is. So right now, this is the landing page. You should have received, and I think you did a long time ago now, the syllabus. So this is the syllabus of the course. Okay. These are my office hours. Okay. Uh, Obviously, if none of these hours work for you, please let me know. This is an online class. So if Thursday, for example, 1 to 2 p.m. doesn't work for you, or any other time, for example, you can't make it, you can please reach out to me and then we can try to arrange for another time. Okay. I can meet with you here in my office or in the STEM center, or it doesn't matter where we can meet, or we can meet online. Okay. So please do take care of this one. This is my office number. When you call this number, you're gonna get an answering machine, because I really don't have a physical phone in here in my office. But what you can do is you can leave me a message and I will call you back, because it comes as a notification to me saying that so and so has called and left a message. Okay. Uh, Basically, at this point, the class is an online class, as I was saying. Okay, and the times will be meeting like today, for example, and some other times throughout the semester. Like two things, for example, that come to mind. First of all, we have exams, so we need to have meetings before that. We have also projects, so we need to have meetings leading to that. But it is not on a schedule like weekly meetings and so on and so forth. Will bring me to another point, and I know most of you are not here, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're not required to attend those sessions live, as long as you do watch them later on. This recording is going to be posted later on to Canvas. As a matter of fact, I first have to upload it to YouTube. Once it's uploaded to YouTube, then I provide the link to Canvas so that you guys will see it. Okay. So this is basically in terms of the main thing. Obviously, you should have received the announcements, and the announcements are actually on this page in here. Okay. So these are the announcements that you should be receiving. Hopefully you have linked your email to your Canvas so that you will receive an email that there was an announcement for the class. And also, if you need to send me a message, this is the preferred way. I can't click on it because I'm using the student. I'm looking at it from a student view, and this is not a student is not a real student. So if I click on it, it tries to get into his or her account, and that student doesn't exist, so it's going to throw me an error. But you come into the inbox in here, which is on the left pane, and you send me a message. That way, I know specifically which class you're in. I have 6 sections this semester. So it would be very hard for me to receive a message saying that John has a difficulty with a problem from the homework because I have sections and almost in every one of them. As a matter of fact, in one of them, I have 3 Johns. So it's very hard for me to know which class you're from and which assignment you're talking about. But if you come into through the inbox, it tells me exactly which class that person is. Give me a little bit more detail. That way it can help you much faster. Okay. So the inbox is the best way to send me messages. And other than that, you come into the course. Let me go back to the home page again. And if it's a general question, you can open this open topic class discussion. You can ask anybody in the class. And hopefully, if I don't get back with you as soon as possible, one of your peers will pick up the item and answers you. Okay. And if they don't answer you, just go ahead and send me the message nonetheless, okay? So that we can make sure that you're fully answered, okay? Now, in terms of the daily work, it's going to be through the models. You have access to the models from the landing page, from the home page, or from the left pane. It's both of them. They will take you to the same location. So I'm going to go to it. Obviously, this is week 1, and you will see similarities, okay? Week 1, and then week 2. This is from last week. A lot of this assignments had older dates. I changed them because of the fact that we have we didn't have instruction last week, and some of you did not even have access to your homes because of the fires. So I had to delay it to give you a little bit more time to do these things. And this is this week, week 3. As you can clearly see, the rest of the weeks are grayed, or they should be, at least this week in here. Is it accessible? It says September 24th. Let me try to click on it. Sounds like it's acceptable. No, it's not. It should be grayed out, okay? I don't know why Canvas is not graying out this thing in here because it's available. It will not open until next week or the week after or something like that. Anyway, so you will see basically what the course load is. You have an idea basically of what's going on, okay? Including the final, including everything that needs to be done, okay, for this class. So there's the structure that you see. So this is where you're supposed to be on a daily basis. This is where you are supposed to come in and basically make sure that you have a check mark. So let me look at, obviously we can look at week 2, okay, because this meeting was supposed to be for week 2. So I'm going to look at the objectives for week 2. Again, all of these dates have been changed. I think this one still has the wrong date on it. So quiz 1 is not due tomorrow. It's due let me make sure that I have that correct, okay? Quiz 1 is due September 24th, September 24th, not September 17th, okay? So this is due September 24th. So there is something in here I need to change to make sure that it's correct. And it gives you an idea, basically summary of what needs to be covered through this week and the units that needs to be read. Because the reason why I like this book, it's not divided into chapters. It's divided into units. And the units are a lot less than what a chapter load is, which means that they are actually manageable, usually several pages, like for example, 6 pages, 7 pages, which you can read in a sitting, okay? 6 pages, 7 pages, you can read probably, I mean, if you're a fast reader, you can read it probably in 5 minutes, okay, 10 minutes. But if you want to take notes, and that's what actually needs to be, what is recommended, take your time, 15 minutes, 20 minutes while you're reading that page. So basically, this is your learning, okay? Not every week you have 3 units, okay, so that you know. Let me go back in here to show you what I'm talking about. Let's look at week 3, okay? Week 3 has 1 unit. Okay. Week 2 has 3 units, and week 1 had 2 units. So usually on average of, sometimes it's a lot more. Okay, especially for this class, you need to start building up because of the fact that you have 2 units in here and other assignments that popped up. 2 units, 2 units, 3 units, 3 units, 4 units. So, and in here it's 1 unit, okay, 2 units, and in here you have a bunch of units, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so basically on average, it's about 2 to 3 units. Okay, sometimes you have 1 unit, sometimes you have four, maybe five, okay? So that's basically what we're talking about in here. In other words, your reading per se, on average, is about 15 to 20 minutes every week, okay? Sometimes it's more. Sometimes it's probably half an hour or 35 minutes. Sometimes it's less, 10 minutes or 12 minutes. But you have to go through these units. And that's really why I like this book, of the fact that it's divided into units. So again, you have the units and you have the assignments also, and you have actually the recordings from the previous classes that serve as a guide. Before I do that, let me talk about the content of every week. So let me go into, for example, week 2, since this is the focus. I have also contents, okay? So this is not in lieu of the reading. This is just like highlights, basically, points, okay? That it helps you when you're doing your reading, actually, to make sure that you stop at these things and what they mean, okay? So it's like bulleted items in here. It's not even fully explaining things, okay? Although it has some graphics sometimes, but it is not a replacement of what the actual content is. So you must go back into it and you must do the reading, okay? Not only that, but actually you have some PowerPoints. Let's pick up, for example, Unit 7. So in here, if I pick up on that, of course, obviously it has to wait to load because it's almost 4.5 meg, okay? So now I have actually PowerPoints in here that explain a little bit more in detail than what I was talking about in there, okay? So, but don't count them as a replacement to those, okay? This is just from the publisher, just to help you, give you some sort of a structure, okay? So when you're doing the actual reading, you have those to serve to help you as a resource, okay? Sometimes I even include external videos, so to help you understand those things. But you must do the reading, in other words. Again, week 2 has a live session from previous classes. As you can clearly see, this is from 2022, okay? And when you see Astronomy 120, it doesn't matter if it's section 71 or 70, it's the same content, okay? So in here, I go a little bit more in detail and basically discussing what those things are. Just to see how long this video is, this is an hour and 13 minutes, okay? Just to give you an idea how long these videos are. So they can be lengthy. And this one is actually also an hour and a half. So just to give you an idea that these videos are not short videos. So here is the thing. In addition to, of course, doing the reading, which takes you on average 15 to 20 minutes, you have the option actually to watch those videos to hopefully clarify some of the items. I don't discuss everything in the video. I don't read, for example, the units for you. I don't go through the entire unit. I give you basically the highlights of what these units. And sometimes I go into a little bit more details and I bring some demos using some other software, for example, the Stellarium and some other applications. So those videos are supposed to be an extra resource for you. Again, not replacement of what you're supposed to be doing. On average, 15 to 20 minutes if you go and read those units, taking the time with a pencil and a paper and taking notes of them, okay, as you're reading through them. Now, something is not clear in those units, something you don't understand, try to look for it through the videos. Hopefully, it's going to help you. And if it's still not clear, please reach out. Okay, send me a question, saying, okay, I was reading through Unit 8, for example, and it was talking about this point in here, and I don't see it, or it's not clear to me. Can you please help me out with it? I can do one of two things. I can respond quickly saying, here is the basically in a nutshell what this is saying, and for further detail, go and look in here. Or let's meet. Okay, let's meet and sit down and try to understand it and go through an example, and hopefully it clarifies that. Okay, so those are basically the plan on how to tackle every week. Again, every week has assignments. Every week, first of all, has this important item in here, which is the discussion items. Okay, so the discussion items are a must. Okay, and they are graded assignments. So every time you see a points below it, that means that they are graded assignments. Question that usually I receive, first of all, you have this assignment that is, again, it was due last week and I had to postpone it for next week. This is just an introduction to the topic, and this has two components to it where you're required to make a comment or reply, and then reply to your peers at least two replies to get the full credit of 20 points. After that, that's just to get you into the habit of doing this. After that, the next discussion items, they're worth 5 points for every week. And it's basically just to make sure you read through the topic and you answer those prompts. They are not questions about everything that you're supposed to read, but just like to help you basically saying, okay, oh, this is a key concept in here. I better read it and understand what they're talking about. And then in the reply, you post it. Now, while you're doing your reply, you might notice some of your peers who made a kind of a reply that was kind of a smart, that you probably did not think about it. So you say, oh, thank you so and so for bringing up this issue. I didn't really think that it was how it was presented in the book. And you can reply. You don't have to reply to your peers from this discussion items. But if you see something interesting that brings up your interest to it, it's a good idea to also help enrich the topic. Or if you see, for example, another peer of yours who made a comment that probably not related to the topic, and you would want them probably to remember that the discussion. So, for example, we're talking, let's look at the topic for the week two, since we're bringing up these things in here. So in here, it says that explains, since we have in every lunar month, we have a full moon, that's not noon, full moon, that's an M, I'm sorry. I should have full moon. And in one new moon, why don't we have solar eclipses in every single month? And somebody probably goes on a tangent to start talking about the fact that I don't know, because probably we are not in the right position. Full moon, I mean, lunar eclipses happen every month, except they don't happen in our location. They happen in another location. Obviously, this is wrong. Okay, it has to do with the alignment of the path of the moon around the Earth and the axis of the Earth. There is a tilt of 5 degrees, and that tilt shifts back and forth. And when they line up is when we see full moon, when we see the lunar eclipse. So somebody might think that, oh, while I was reading that, I think there is a full moon and there is a new moon every month. Therefore, we must have lunar eclipses every month and solar eclipses every month. The only reason why we don't have them in our location here in San Bernardino, we don't see them in our location in San Bernardino, is because they happen and they rotate from location to location. This reasoning is, of course, wrong. I'm just giving you a false argument in here, okay? But the point is, while you saw somebody brings up something that is not correct, you might direct them and tell them, well, that's actually an interesting argument or an interesting idea, but the thing with it has to do with probably the tilt. So you can enrich the topic. You can help one another basically progress, okay? And make sure you clarify any kind of misconception. The word is really hard to say once you're talking. Sometimes it's easier to write things. Anyway, so this is what is meant by the discussion items. Obviously, you can come in the bottom and you post your reply, okay, to here, okay, to this item. And there are even some resources in here. This is part of the discussion item, okay? So again, this is hopefully it's going to help you with your how the course is. Every week you will have this. So, I mean, there are some times when you don't have that, but it's almost every week you have a discussion item. This is week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7, 8, 9. On week 10, there is a discussion item, but it has no points on it and it has no due date on it. So sometimes when you have other things going on, we kind of, this thing is not going to be graded, so you don't have to worry about it, okay? And then 11, okay? I don't see the discussion item because we have other stuff in here, okay? We have homework assignments and things of this nature. Week 12, okay, week 13, we picked up again, okay? Depending on the topic, honestly. Week 29, there is a week 14, I'm sorry. There is an assignment of a discussion item, but it has no grades and it actually has a due date too, okay? So it's a good idea if you're questioning things in there to bring them up to the attention of people. Okay, week 16 and 17. So the point being in here, especially in the beginning, there are discussion items all the time. They're actually, their purpose is to help you basically progress in your reading too. Remember, I dropped the lowest grade. So there are 2 discussion items that will be automatically dropped, but please don't miss them too much. Yes, at the end, they tend to average out and they tend to not have a lot of influence, but it doesn't mean that they are not important unless you are working off of a 95% basically your grade. Sorry, 90%, unless you're planning to get a B in the class, you can you can ignore all of this items that have to do with the discussion and participation in class because they have to do with the participation in the class. Okay. So if you decide, you know what, in this class, I don't care about the A, I care only about a B, then you can skip them. Obviously, that's not a smart plan. That's not a good idea to do. Okay. So please take care of them because you would want to get your A in this class. You don't want to get anything less than that. Okay. So, so this is in a nutshell the structure for this class. I discussed obviously there are some exceptions. Some weeks have other things than other weeks, but more or less this is what you're going to see in every week. Okay. You will have some stuff that has to do with something like homework assignment. Okay, where you're going to actually be doing some calculations. I know some of you probably have a background that is not in science and don't have a lot of math background, but there are some basic algebra that we need to do, okay? Because it helps us understand the topic. I mean, you can read about Kepler's laws all day long. And you read about, for example, the third law of Kepler that says the period square is proportional to the cube of the semi-major axis for a planet. But then it stays as is. I mean, it has a lot of value. It has a lot of things. Help me understand, for example, why in the world the Earth year is about half Mars's year, and why Venus's year is less than the Earth's year, about 7 months or so. Okay. So if somebody tells you, you know what, we discovered a new planet and it's beyond Jupiter, or we discovered another topic, another object, it's beyond Jupiter, between Jupiter and Saturn, then you have an idea already in your head how long it takes, how slow it's moving around the sun. It takes more than 12 years to go around the sun because Jupiter takes 12 years to go around the sun. So without this kind of homework assignments, a lot of these ideas will not be anchored in. They will not stick. They will not stay in with you. They will basically evaporate. We don't want that. So there are some homework assignments, which I think they're extremely important. I understand that some of you don't have a lot of background in these things, so we're going to work through those. So you have more homework assignments, more quizzes, and so on and so forth. So unless you pull your basically a piece of paper and you pull a pen and you start working the numbers and you see how they fall and what they mean. then things start to really, really make more sense to you first. You feel like at ease at the end with the concept. You feel better about it and you understand it more. And hopefully it lingers more with you. It doesn't really leave immediately after the assignment is over. Somebody gives you a question in the quiz, how long is Jupiter goes around the sun? And because you remember it's 12 years, you say 12 years. How long does Mars go around the sun? And is it more than 12 years or less than 12 years? Yes, if I really have done the assignments, I know it's less than 12 years because Mars is closer to the sun than Jupiter. Okay, so I already have a ballpark. It's less than 12 years. Is it more than a year? Because the Earth takes about a year. Yes, it is more than a year because Mars is further away from the sun than the Earth is. So I know I am between 1 year and 12 years. Okay. It turns out to be 22 months and something. So that's almost 2 years. Okay. So that's basically the idea behind it. So when you do this assignment, it helps you a lot with it. Obviously, we have also projects. This is one of them, and it's still not now. So it's going to open up next week. Okay. So we're going to talk about that once it opens. And we will have a live session for that dedicated to how to do projects and things like that. And again, the purpose of the project is actually to help you again learn more about astronomy and to actually go outside and look at stuff and try to document them and answer them because this class is about astronomy. Okay, so you really need to do that. Okay, I think I have introduced the class. Hopefully you guys it's clear to you how the plan is. It's clear to you how this class is going to progress. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask them. There are some great resources. Let me go back to the homepage that I want to bring your attention to, and hopefully you take advantage of them. One of them is actually the uh, the YouTube channel that I have. It has a lot of resources in terms of astronomy, so hopefully you guys will look at that. And I also provided the link in here for something which is Stellarium. Okay, you will see me refer to this software a lot. This is a free software, so I'm going to click on it. This is how it looks like when you go there. Okay, so uh, there is a web version and there is actually the Windows version. This is if you have a Windows machine. I have a Windows machine, so you can download the Windows version. There is the Mac version. Mac, there is a requirement for Mac. You have to have a newer edition of Mac, otherwise sometimes it's not going to install. I ran into a problem where I couldn't install it on a Mac machine that I had. Or Linux. Okay, Linux actually can actually have the source code too if you can compile it. I mean, whatever editor you have. So if you're not familiar with that, ignore that. Okay. So you have all of these versions. When you're doing Windows, try to go for this version, the one next to the Selenium. That's actually the most functional one. Okay, because it comes both with the 86 and 64, and it's for Windows 10 or plus, so it's Windows 11. Most people now have that. If you have an older version of Windows, like Windows 7, then you can use this one. And this is actually the 64, and this is the 32. Now, what is that 64 and 32? Here is the point. Try the 64 whenever you can, okay? Because it's better version, if you wish, than the 32. If this doesn't work for you or a computer complains that, hey, we're not capable of doing the 64 architecture, then obviously you have to have Windows 10 or higher. You're Windows 7 or higher, so you can do it with less than Windows 7. So the problem that I ran into with the Mac also applies to Windows, so you really have to have a Windows 7 or higher. Okay. Uh, if you have a Windows 7, that is 32-bit, and I really honestly don't see this anymore, then this is probably the version that you have. So you try it from here, and then you work your way down. Mac, you only have one version. Linux, you also have the 64-bit also in here. And if in case Linux, you have a problem with it, download the source and compile it. There are all kinds of compilers for Linux. So if you're using Linux, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you don't really need explaining because Linux is a little bit more flexible than Windows or Mac in terms of what you can do with it. Now, if none of them work, you can use the Stellarium, the web version. Okay? And I know some of you and a lot of you, unfortunately, do have those Chromebooks. And those Chromebooks, they don't work with any of these versions. None of them would work. Okay. So your only option then is the Stellarium web. Okay. Uh, so this is how the web would work. And in here I have to agree. And it gives me some sort of a view of a landscape. This is not San Bernardino, how it looks like. This looks like somewhere in the Midwest or something, okay? And it's looking at the time of 1955, which is kind of 7 p.m. I don't know why is it 7. It's uses, by the way, military time, so that you know. It uses the year, the month, the day, the hour, the minutes, and the seconds. So this is how the time should be. And it's using actually not the PM AM, it's using the 12 hours, I say. So right now it's 9:43. So this is more or less like how what the time look like, okay? Obviously you can freeze time, okay, and start panning, going around. Obviously this is not where we are right now, okay? And you can, this is where the sun is. This is Mercury actually next to the sun, and this is where Venus. Mercury and Venus are very close to the sun. Obviously, if you go out, you cannot see them because the sun has too much light, and the atmosphere diffuses the light from the sun so that you don't see the stars during daytime. If it were not for the atmosphere, actually, we're going to remove the atmosphere. You will see how how our day would look like. Okay. So the only reason why we can see things during daytime is because of the atmosphere. So once we remove the atmosphere, this is how things look like. We have Ceres, which is the brightest star in the sky. We have actually, what's his name? Orion, the constellation in here. We have Procyon, Betelgeuse, all kinds of beautiful stars that you can look at during daytime. Unfortunately, with the atmosphere, you can see nothing. Okay? So that is one thing. The other thing also that you can remove is the entire horizon that you can do with it. By the way, this software is actually a very good software no matter which class you're taking because it acts more like a planetarium. And part of the class also is that toward the end of the class, we will be visiting our planetarium. You will be invited. You're not required. I know some of you are sitting in my Astronomy 125. Well, you will be urged to attend the visit to the planetarium. But if you are astronomy 120, you will be invited. If you don't show up, there is no consequences. There will be no attendance taken or anything like that. Okay. So the planetarium, we have a big planetarium here on campus. We have actually 16-inch telescope too, and it's part of the visit. We go through both of them. Okay. So uh, so this is how it looks like without the landscape. Obviously, when you come to the planetarium, there is a dome above you, and you will see the stars and it behaves more like that. Actually, Stellarium is used by some planetariums now as a software of choice. So again, this is a good software to have. I'm looking at the version that is the web version. If I look at the desktop version, oops, I have it already. Stellarium. I'm loading it so that you know. I know you're not looking at it. So once it loads, I'm going to switch to it. Let me stop sharing right now so that once it loads, what is it? It takes a little bit of time, although this computer has like 32 gig of RAM. This software is kind of a little bit, it's not only that, I have so many things open right now. Still loading. Okay, I should have loaded it before starting class. I was right in the middle of the class. Anyway, okay, it loaded. So let me go and share Stellarium. So again, this is it looks like it's the desktop, the web version, but actually it has far more functionality that you cannot even imagine compared to the desktop, the web version. It has so many things in here that you didn't have before. including what I was showing earlier, namely the landscape and also the atmosphere. Okay. And also it has the location, where it's much easier to control than in the desktop version, and you can choose your location of your lighting. You can choose any place on Earth. So if you're planning to go somewhere, it's actually good software to have to plan your trip so that you can go and watch what you need to, to see the objects in the sky. As a matter of fact, you can change planets altogether. So instead of Earth, how do things look like, for example, from Mars, okay, or from Jupiter? Obviously, it's going to take your geolocations, your longitude and latitude for this planet, which is somewhere near about 34 degrees, 117 degrees west, and then project them on the other object. For example, if you're on Jupiter, how do they look like? And you will see how the things move. Obviously, it's more of a fantasy, but this is actually a very, very powerful software, as I was saying, and gives you all kinds of options in here to look at it. This is 34 degrees north, and longitude is 117 degrees west, and the elevation is 0. I mean, obviously, we have an elevation about 50 meters above the atmosphere. I mean, above the horizon, about sea level. I'm sorry, about sea level. Okay, so the point being, in here, there is all kinds of things that you can do in here. As I was saying about the date and time. Also, this is something that is similar. The sky view, so the search function. So there is more flexibility for this software, and you can look for specific objects in here. And one of the most amazing objects that is actually you can see during nighttime nowadays is uh, is uh, is Saturn. So let me see if I can find Saturn here. Here. So when you go to the search and you start typing, it's going to give you what Saturn is. So right now, I'm looking at, let me go into the time and change the time to the evening. Okay, let's put it at 8 p.m. No, 10 p.m., which is 2200. Okay, so the location for this one, and let me put just the atmosphere, the horizon, just to give you an idea of where the so it is way above the horizon. Okay, it's from the southeast, south around 10 p.m. You can see Saturn, and it's actually very close from the moon. Okay, which is not good nowadays because the moon is almost, it's a gibbous moon, which is big moon. So it's going to really ruin a little bit your view. But if you happen to look at this during other times, about probably a week from today, it's going to be an amazing picture in here. So let me see if I can zoom into this. First of all, I need to focus on it. And is it page up? Yeah. And of course, even with a small telescope, a 5-inch telescope, or even binocular, you should be able to see some of these details. Okay. Right now, it's hard to see the rings of Saturn because it has tilted so that we are almost looking at them. But because of this year, down the road, the rings actually switch because of the tilt of the axis of the planet. So right now, it's kind of hard to see the rings, but you can see them. The other thing also you can see is Titan, which is the biggest moon for Saturn and the second largest moon in the solar system. And it's so big that it's even bigger than the planet Mercury. So that's actually something that you can see. And hopefully today is going to be not great because of the moon next to it. Okay, the moon is super bright and it's going to ruin your views of Saturn. But if you wait a week from today, oh, it's going to be full moon next. It's going to be even worse. But it's going to move. At least it gives you some sort of a separation. Okay, so if you wait 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks, it's going to be beautiful, amazing picture that you can do. Anyway, so this is something that I thought I should share with you. So let me stop sharing this. Obviously, if you're taking the lab, we're going to be using a lot this software. We use actually another one. We have access to a lot of things that can give us views and things like that so that we can do them for our activity. If you're not taking the class, Astronomy 125, which is the lab version of this class, you're not required to take it. You are not required to take the lab. Okay, there's an option, but you cannot take the lab if you don't take Astronomy 120. So this is a prerequisite for a or a co-requisite for Astronomy 125. Okay. So I shared with you the resources. I shared with you how this class is structured and how you're supposed to be working this class. Hopefully, this is helpful. And once this recording hits Canvas, hopefully you guys will send me questions and clarifications, and we can build on it. I want you to also pay attention to the announcements because there will be a meeting soon also about those projects and also about the homework. About the homework assignment probably, but the exam for sure. Okay. Thank you. I'm gonna stop the recording.